Subscribe. I'm the only person talking about the OTC and pink sheets exclusively. Okay, y'all, today we're doing part 3 of the greatest scams of Greg Halpern. So we're going to talk more about the Z-Trim case, and if you read over this case, and you'll see if you just replace the word Z-Trim with MAXD, you kind of get an idea. And I want to thank Janoi, the Yahoo poster that pointed this out, because this is information that's interesting. And also, in 2018, a case was filed relating to Z-Trim, in which that person, some Sanfilippo guy, got a judgment against Greg Halpern regarding this case. So, go to the filing here, page 4. January 15, 2004, Circle Group issued a press release announcing an agreement for the Nestle company to purchase Z-Trim for use in its products. So, after disclosing the Nestle contract, Halpern gave a television interview which stated that a net profits of 20 cents per share in 2004. Circle Group ended up operating a net loss of $4.1 million on the year, a loss of 11 cents per share. Circle Group stock, nonetheless, rose from $2 to $8.75 per share. So you guys, this is one of Greg's, pumps that, he's really proud of himself for doing before. Now, you'll see throughout this, again, no sales, no real product, no real sales, and just, the company just goes defunct, basically. Because this is Greg Halpern driving the company to the ground. So, a copy of Circle Group's business plan was sent to these guys on March 15th, stating that Fibergel entered into a long-term contract with Nestle to supply Nestle with Z-Trim. You guys, the long-term is false. It was a contract for 1 year that was terminable at that Nestle could terminate at any time on its own decision, its own will. And there was an NDA about the contract because Nestle didn't want people to know. But hey, Greg was way more interested in pumping the stock than he was in securing a contract. So, and this is also information that is inside that he's given to these investors that's false. So, around the time that he received the Circle Group business plan, he had discussions with Halpern over the phone and through email. During the discussions, Halpern represented Circle Group at multiple existing contracts to supply major corporations, including Nestle, with Z-Trim, and that Z-Trim manufacturing plant was nearing completion in July 2014. You guys, all of this was, Halpern knew his statements and his analysis of the market were false, as did other Circle Group officers and directors. So, again, kind of sound like MAXD a little bit. They have a real product, but they're not delivering any of these contracts. He's screwing up all the contracts. March 11th, 2004, George Turner, VP of Purchasing for the Nestle, held, basically discussed the Nestle Group relationship with Halpern. Turner reminded Halpern that he had signed a confidentiality agreement which prohibited Halpern from publicly discussing the Nestle contract. In a letter from Turner to Halpern acknowledging the March 11th conversation, Turner stated that the contract between Nestle and the group was for 1 year and was terminable at will. So this is why companies don't want to do business with Halpern. He won't shut up. So the previous day, Halpern sent an email to investors regarding Circle Group new manufacturing plant that would be operational by 2004, and he knew or had no reasonable basis to believe the plant would be operational by July 2004. In fact, it wasn't. In fact, the plant was not on schedule. It would not be able to meet the requirements of the Nestle contract once it was completed, and it was over budget. So, page 7 here, the Circle Group's quarterly filings listed the contract between Nestle and Circle Group for Z-Trim. The next day, Circle Group announced that Nestle had agreed to increase its order of Z-Trim to 215,000 pounds over the period of May to December 2004. This is at a time when Nestle told them to zip it. So, later in May, Circle Group contractually was obligated to ship 7,500 pounds of Z-Trim, but only shipped 3,100 pounds. In June 2004, they were obligated to ship 12,000 pounds, but they delivered less than 3,500 pounds. So, Now that's in June. Now in July, Turner terminated Nestle's relationship with Circle Group in a certified letter sent to Halpern. Now Halpern refused service of the letter, but he knew the contracts or the contents because of a telecopy that was sent to him. The Circle Group officers and directors also knew that the Nestle contract had been canceled. So, again, that all takes place there in July 7, 2004. So what happens? Halpern, Dabney, and Thoreau all were aware the Nestle contract had been canceled, sold Circle Group stock before the company publicly announced the end of the Nestle Circle Group relationship. Dabney sold 64,000 shares, Thoreau 50,000, Halpern sold 84,000. Certain other investors were told about the termination Nestle contract before public announcement, which led to further decrease in the stock's value. On August 6, Circle Group registered his shares, filed, and had not disclosed the termination of the Nestle contract. Filed 10 days later, Circle Group's 10Q report did not acknowledge the Nestle termination. So you guys, 10 days after the termination of the contract, Greg is running around pretending the contracts exist, making false statements to the SEC right there. On August 25th, Circle Group held a ribbon cutting ceremony for the plant, even though the plant construction was not complete. Oh God. So, it gets better. So they knowingly sold shares. That's insider trading, because they sold shares based on information that they had not disclosed to the public, which is sitting around, okay? On October 6, 2004, the Dow Jones News Service published a story that Swiss food giant Nestle stopped using Circle Group Holdings' zero-calorie substitute called Z-Trim. 2 days later, Circle Group issued a press release acknowledging that the plant's production capacity was not satisfactory to meet the increased demand, and Circle Group was no longer shipping Z-Trim to Nestle. So that was on, October, 8th, and they knew back in July that the contract was canceled, kept boasting the contract's existence to investors, got investors to buy in, and then then after having to, because the Dow Jones service, and then even after that, look at this. Halpern tells the investor that he was not concerned with the loss of the Nestle contract because Circle Group had other imminent business opportunities. So this is, and just like what happened last year with Max Sound, it's up to the same old tricks. So, and the reason why nobody wants to do business with Greg Halpern is because he won't shut up about it. He over boasts everything, and he's releasing inside information. He's Nestle just wanted him to zip it, and they have this fat substitute, put it in their chocolate, could lower the fat, or put it in their products and lower the fat content. But no, and they didn't want to tell the public, probably how they were doing it. But, Halpern, instead of securing the contract, just blew it and didn't, because that people don't want to meet with Greg because he's very arrogant, and he goes into these rooms with these people and makes demands as to how this, contract is going to be, what's going to happen, instead of going in there, feeling out the customer and trying to secure a contract. He's going in there like he's the biggest thing in the world, and he's just sitting on a tiny company, and nobody, and all he's trying to do is bust through the stock. So this video is for entertainment purposes only. I am not a registered financial advisor, and none of the content here should be construed as financial advice or an offer or solicitation for securities.